Not to be confused with Usman Nurmagomedov, who is the Bellator champion. Not to be confused with said Nurmagomedov, who I think they're cousins, and I know that they tie into Khabib. And I've got to word it that way, because just because they are from Dagestan region, they are trained by Khabib, and they are named Nurmagomedov, doesn't mean that they're all related. Somewhere I heard cousin, somewhere I heard no, just same last name on a different guy. Somewhere I heard nephew. So I bring this to you because that relationship would be interesting to me. I would like to know, and I'm not ready to let go of this Khabib business yet at all. But Umar did come out and weigh in on Khabib, right? You guys know what I'm referencing there. Khabib had come out, and it was a little bit confusing, at least for us over here at Bad Guy Inc., what he meant. He said, I'm leaving the industry. I hope I made the right decision. Train hard, brothers. And off he goes. But that was a little bit, I'm leaving the industry today. I'm leaving the industry soon. I'm leaving the industry after the group of guys that I've already got signed fights for and we're in training camp get done compete. I mean, right, it was one of those things, because all of those would be right. We hold Khabib to a very high standard of being literal with his words. We hold him to that standard. We would still understand if that meant 2 months from now. Okay. Now, stay with me, because I threw a few Nurmagomedovs at you, but Umar is interesting to me, right? He's a 135-pounder. He's getting ready to take on a Brazilian opponent. And the Brazilian opponent's like 35 years old, and the last 4 fights in the UFC have been a little bit of a mixed bag. We started doing this in 1993 with a goal. The goal was to find out which martial art was the best martial art. And by 1996, we found out that they all sucked. That was like the one conclusion nobody thought that we would come to. We found out by 96, none of them are the dominant art. In fact, the dominant art does not yet exist. And by 2001, we had created a new sport called mixed martial arts. Combinations of grappling arts, combinations of athleticism, which means that you actually focus and work hard. Maybe you put the donut down. I mean, right, but these things were new concepts. Randy Couture is the first one that ever brought world-class athleticism and professionalism into our sport. That might surprise some of you, but it's true. It's like anything. It's not here until it's here. One thing that we did learn was the importance of jiu-jitsu. The effectiveness of jiu-jitsu. I had been in combat my whole life. At that point in 93, put me as a junior in high school. So what am I, 16? I'm going to be 17, somewhere right in there. But I've been competing since I was 9. I'd never heard the term finish. I'd never been thrown out. In fact, when I started hearing the term finish, I didn't know what it meant. Oh, that means to knock him out, TKO, or get him to tap. Oh, okay, that's a new thing. But these are things that jiu-jitsu showed us. When I tell you that Nurmagomedov is going to be fighting a Brazilian opponent, it's very relevant. And I cut an interview, and this was done by Renzo Gracie. And that changes everything. When Renzo Gracie makes the statement, it changes everything in terms of your ability to argue with the statement. And Renzo said, and he was talking about Khabib, and he said Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu cannot beat him. Big, big statement. I don't know, by the way, guys, when that was made. That could have been made 3 years ago. I just saw it. And it does make me think, right? Take Renzo's statement. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu cannot beat him. Now, take Islam's recent statement, where he said a lot of guys need to be given their black belts back. There are not as many black belts walking the planet or even signed to the UFC and Bellator as you're told. Those guys are not black belts. I mean, Islam felt this about Charles Oliveira. Some people have said that Charles Oliveira is the best jiu-jitsu player within MMA. I don't think that's something that should have been bestowed upon Charles. When you have Gilbert Burns sitting there, who has a bronze medal, but I think you understand the point. That Islam's saying, man, this guy that you're saying is the best, this guy shouldn't even have a black belt. I don't have a black belt. And I'm a heck of a lot better than him. Whoa, those are fighting words. Those are fighting words within our community. You walk up to a black belt and you tell him he's not a black belt. Moreover, you speak to a black belt that way when you're not a black belt, problem. It's a problem. You might understand that, you might not. But anybody that's in the jiu-jitsu, no, that's a problem. That's rude to start with. And you always show respect, particularly to the black belts. Makhachev says they should take his black belt away. He's not a black belt. Watch what I'm going to go do to him, and I'm not a black belt. Interesting statement, right? It was a really interesting statement, and I do like to bring that in because when you have the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt coming out of Brazil, and he's going to go take on one of these boys from Dagestan, we are still on the pursuit of 1993. We are still on the pursuit of learning what the best art is, what works realistically the most. We're really after that. We're driven towards that. We've got Islam saying the black belt shouldn't have black belts. We got Renzo Gracie saying our great art of jiu-jitsu can't beat that. Now he's talking about Khabib. But then you have Khabib and the boys saying that they're doing Sambo, which is fiction. That is a nice thing to say. The chosen art of the Russian military is Sambo. So you have these guys paying a massive respect to their country, but they're not doing Sambo. I share that with you, like before you think, okay, well, Chael, we've got this answered, and let's put Renzo's statement together and let's take a look at this thing that Islam did, and we got this. We got Umar about to go head-to-head with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black. We got this whole thing figured out, Chael. It's Sambo. No, it's not. They're not doing Sambo. Sambo involves a jacket. They're not doing Sambo. They're paying homage to Sambo. So what is it that they are doing? By my eyes, it seems pretty clear. They're tough guys who understand the emphasis that grappling must show to wrestling. Jiu-Jitsu's a little looser with that. They will favor submission over position. The sport of mixed martial arts, you need position. And if you can add submission, more power to you. And that appears to be what Team Khabib is doing so well. First and foremost, position, which is wrestling. First and foremost. And then you will look for a submission later. See, it's a pretty simple recipe, right? I agree with you. It seems like a really good respect and understanding of wrestling, followed by a really good understanding and respect of jiu-jitsu. That's what it seems, but they claim it's Sambo. So what do? Where do you want to go with it? Are there too many black belts out there? I like that angle. That is fascinating to me, to have a guy who does not have a black belt say you shouldn't have a black belt and then go out and absolutely dominate that guy. That's a surprise. That's not what we thought that we would see. That's an angle that everybody's been real happy to let just go away. We shouldn't be letting that go away. That should be loud. That should be loud and proud by some. And that should be humiliated and protected by others. You're either black belt or you're not. Can you handle yourself or can't you? There's ways and katas and forms you can do in karate and some of these other things. That's not the way it's supposed to be in jiu-jitsu, where there's actual competitions. Are you a black belt or aren't you? I think that's interesting. I think that Nurmagomedov this weekend against his Brazilian opponent is going to help to answer the question. What are you guys? Quit telling us you're Sambo. We get the respect that you're choosing to show or that you're being forced to show to Russia. We get that. But what you're doing isn't a whole lot different than the Liver King. The Liver King's telling us to go and do this certain lifestyle, and this is what you can have. knowing full well it's not true. That's not a lot different than what you're doing by insisting to me that that is Sambo. No, it's not. And if I trust you and I was to go join a Sambo gym, and 10 years my athletic life is done and I can't do what you did, what you're doing is no different than the Liver King. So there is a relevance to what I'm saying, and there is an importance that we get to the bottom of it. Are there too many black belts? Can Jiu-Jitsu not deal with Khabib? And can I extend that to Team Khabib? And if that's true, and the quest that we have set out since 1993 to find of what the most dominant art is, if we have found it, what do we call that art?